Not all wand wielders are created equal. Some can barely manage a spark, others bend reality with a flick. Across the wizarding world, 6 levels of wand mastery separate the amateurs from the legends, from trembling first years to those who make magic look effortless. Each level reveals how control evolves, how instinct replaces fear, and how true mastery blurs the line between wizard and wand itself. Level 1. The Flailers. Every wizarding story begins here, the point where the wand has more control over you than you have over it. These are the witches and wizards whose spells go in every direction except the one they intend, whose charms produce smoke, noise, and occasionally explosions, and whose professors keep a bottle of burn-healing paste within arm's reach. At this level, magic is basically a lottery. You might get Lumos, or you might accidentally set your owl on fire. Fine control doesn't exist yet. Everything depends on emotion and luck. Most flailers haven't learned that intent matters as much as pronunciation. Now you might be asking, who are our level 1 wand flailers? Take Neville Longbottom in his first year. The poor boy spent half his lessons hovering somewhere between concussion and combustion. His wand work was so uncoordinated that his own spells frequently backfired. By Chamber of Secrets, he'd already managed to melt a half-dozen cauldrons and spend more time in the hospital wing than in the common room. But to be fair, Neville's early wand wasn't even his own. It was his father's, meaning the wand responded with the enthusiasm of a Hufflepuff at a Slytherin house party. Then there's Gilderoy Lockhart, the wizard that proves confidence does not equal competence. Despite his flashy wand flourishes and photogenic smile, he couldn't perform a simple Expelliarmus without risking collateral damage. During the infamous dueling club in Chamber of Secrets, Lockhart attempted to demonstrate a disarming spell and promptly flung himself backward across the room. His greatest magical achievement was accidentally wiping his own memory with his own spell. Honestly, the only thing more dangerous than a level 1 wizard are 2 level 1 wizards helping each other revise. For Gilderoy, though, that's the Sorting Hat putting him straight into the Department of Magical Accidents. And, of course, Ron Weasley, the poster child for what happens when your wand is held together by spellotape. In Chamber of Secrets, Ron tried to curse Draco Malfoy into eating slugs, a creative idea, until the spell rebounded and left him vomiting snails into a bucket. In short, Ron discovered a new form of dark magic, self-targeting curses. Flailers live in a constant state of panic and apology. They overpronounce incantations, wave their wands too widely, and somehow manage to cause chain reactions in a classroom they're not even in, on the other side of the castle. What's clear is a complete lack of trust between wizard and wand. But here's the crucial thing. Every great witch and wizard starts here. Dumbledore didn't come out of the womb casting unforgivable curses. The early chaos is a necessary phase. Learning wand control means learning emotional control, and that only comes after the panic clears. Until then, the flailer is best observed from a safe distance, ideally behind a protective charm and hovering 50 feet away on a Nimbus 2000. Level 2. The Apprentices. At this stage, the wand finally begins to cooperate. If by cooperate you mean casts rudimentary spells in a mediocre fashion. This, of course, is not the fault of the wand itself, but merely a reflection of the inexperience of the student holding it. While these apprentices are capable of producing real, functional magic, they're still essentially cosplaying as witches and wizards at this point. They overemphasize every syllable when reciting incantations. We're looking at you, Granger.
It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
While waving their wands around in a stiff imitation of their superiors. The whole thing is more awkward than Professor Snape trying to explain to Harry why he sleeps with a picture of Lily Potter under his pillow. Despite this awkwardness, the apprentices' spells usually do work, particularly when they have an open spellbook in front of them and no one is watching. These amateur witches and wizards can levitate feathers, unlock doors, and occasionally make it through potions class without turning their cauldron into a bomb. The Cauldron Bombs. That sounds like the name of a wizard punk band that plays the Hogsmeade equivalent of CBGBs. Apprentice wand wielders must recite their spells using correct pronunciation, precise wand motions, and an absolute level of concentration. Otherwise, they're likely to make a bigger mess than a hippogriff with poor bladder control, earning them a demotion back to level 1 and humiliating words from their peers. Take Harry Potter in his first few years at Hogwarts. By the time Chamber of Secrets rolled around, the bespectacled wizard in training was technically able to cast Expelliarmus, but the results varied wildly.
Harry, what did you just do?
Some days the spell would simply knock the wand from his opponent's grip like a vigilant grandmother slapping a cookie out of her grandchild's hand before dinner. On other days, Harry would send his opponent flying clear across the room. This is because while Potter's instinct was on point, he often allowed his emotions to take the wheel. And if you know anything about pubescent boys, you know their feelings fluctuate more than Snape's alignment. Seamus Finnegan, one of Harry's classmates, is another excellent example. Known by most of the other students as Hogwarts' unofficial pyrotechnician, Seamus could find a way to blow up anything. Even something as non-threatening as a feather would become a fiery explosive when he was around. By order of the Phoenix, just the raising of Seamus's wand would cause the students at Hogwarts to run for cover. Then there's the average classroom duo of Parvati Patil and Lavender Brown. Parvati and Miss My Name is just two colors strung together. We're both perfectly capable of following instructions, but following a recipe and knowing what makes butterbeer taste so butterscotchy are two different things. Parvati and Lavender represent every student at Hogwarts who could quote their textbook word for word, but still had a heart attack when they couldn't make a feather float. Their technique was flawless, but their confidence, not so much. Apprentices are capable of winning a duel, but only if their opponent drops their wand, puts both hands behind their back, and acts like they just won a staring contest with a basilisk. Even then, there's a good chance the apprentice will end up stupefying the wall instead of their opponent. Despite all of this, the apprentice level is still a crucial step in a witch or wizard's journey toward wand mastery. The apprentice level is where precision is forged and bad habits go to die, but more importantly, it's where the fundamentals finally begin to sink in. The apprentice might still shake more holding a wand than Neville Longbottom during a potions exam, but beneath their awkward stance and white knuckle grip is the first spark of actual control. They may not be great yet, but unlike the flailers, at least their spells travel in the right direction and, better still, sometimes they even hit what they're aiming for. Level 3, the competence. At this level, we meet the dependable spellcasters, the witches and wizards who can walk into any situation and at least look like they know what they're doing. Their wand work is consistent, their confidence genuine, and their magic rarely results in spontaneous combustion. They've gone beyond classroom mimicry. Their spells carry intent as well as repetition. Competence can handle nearly any day-to-day task, defensive charms, transfigurations, and low-level dueling, with a sense of calm that would make a level 1 flailer weep with envy. They no longer need to mutter swish and flick under their breath, and they've learned the golden rule. Precision beats power every time. Hermione Granger. The textbook definition of technical mastery. Her spells are sharp, measured, and flawlessly executed. If wand control was an actual written exam, she'd score 100% and still ask for extra credit. But while her precision is unmatched, early on she often lacked the battlefield instincts to adapt under pressure, something she only truly mastered after dodging Death Eaters rather than Ron's slugs. Then there's Remus Lupin, the model of quiet competence. His casting is clean, composed, and built on understanding rather than ego. Watch him handle a boggart or teach a Patronus charm, and you'll see the difference between confidence and control. Lupin will know the right or wrong spell at the right time, right? Arthur Weasley also fits neatly in this tier. Practical, skilled, and resourceful, though more likely to enchant a Ford Anglia than fight a duel. His wand mastery lies in utility rather than flash, a reminder that the real art of magic isn't in heroics, it's knowing you'll never forget where you left your keys. Competence can hold their own in a duel but prefer not to turn the room into rubble. Their style is about measured efficiency, a blend of theory, instinct, and good judgment. They've learned to cast non-verbally on occasion, but it's deliberate, not instinctual. Every spell still has a plan behind it. The best thing about competence? They make magic look normal. They cast with the same calm rhythm as Lupin brewing tea. No drama, no smoke, just results. They've conquered the fear, the hesitation, and most of the self-inflicted explosions. The wand finally feels like an extension of their will, not a safety hazard with a handle. Level 4, the dualists. Here lies the turning point between skill and instinct. Dualists go beyond casting. They command their spells. Every flick, feint, and step is deliberate, as if their wand has its own combat choreography. They've mastered non-verbal casting, partial wandless defense, and, most importantly, timing. A true duelist knows that half a second can mean the difference between a counterspell and a trip to St. Mungo's. These witches and wizards think in combat tempo. They chain spells seamlessly, disarm without hesitation, and clearly played too much Hogwarts legacy. When they duel, it's a conversation between strategy and improvisation, where one wrong syllable can cost you. Sirius Black fits this level perfectly during the height of the Order of the Phoenix. Their coordination in the Department of Mysteries was instinctive synchronization. One fired while the other shielded. Every movement flowed like they'd rehearsed it 100 times. Then there's Bellatrix Lestrange, perhaps the most chaotic duelist of all. Her movements are feral yet precise, her spells fueled by mania and instinct. Bellatrix duels to dominate, almost as if she's late for her hair appointment. The difference is psychological. She unnerves her opponents before striking them down. Basically, she's the most unhinged, delusional, deranged, psychopathic witch to ever live. And no, I'm not scared of her, you are. And, of course, Harry Potter, who grew into a natural duelist by necessity rather than training. By his 5th year, Harry could counter curses on reflex alone. His dueling style was raw, unpolished, but effective. He made mistakes, sure, but his opponents usually made fewer comebacks. All he had to do was whip out an Expelliarmus, and it was game over.
Expelliarmus!
Duelists move differently from everyone else. They don't flinch at spells, they read them, watch the light curve through the air, and respond before the wand finishes its motion. They're the type who can cast Protego mid-roll and still land on their feet. Their biggest weakness? Overconfidence. Once you've learned to duel like a duelist, it's easy to forget you can still be outmatched. By this stage, spellcasting is less about study and more about rhythm. Every spell has momentum, and duelists know how to ride it.
107 years before the release of unrelated Belgian techno anthem, Pump Up the Jam.
Level 5, the Masters. Witches and wizards in this tier are one with their wand. Their wands move with a kind of subconscious precision, as if their thoughts reach the magic before the wand wave even begins. Every flick, every whisper carries the weight of discipline honed through decades, or sheer brilliance that defies explanation. At this stage, nonverbal magic is second nature. These witches and wizards know exactly how much force a spell needs and never waste energy. A duel with a master feels unfair, like playing Quidditch on a hairbrush. Take Severus Snape, cold, controlled, and lethal. His wand movements are so economical they're almost invisible. He doesn't overcast, his movements hit with surgical precision. The Half-Blood Prince's inventions alone, Sectum Sempra, Vulnerus Santentur, and countless tweaks to existing charms, prove a level of mastery beyond luck. His duels are over before most realize they've started. Minerva McGonagall, on the other hand, channels elegance into dominance. Her transfigurations move faster than thought, reshaping the battlefield to her will. During the Battle of Hogwarts, she animated the castle statues to defend the grounds, commanding an entire army through one wand.
I've always wanted to use that spell.
In other words, she's one hell of a bad bee. And then there's Mad-Eye Moody. His style is the antithesis of graceful, but no less effective. He fires spells like artillery, a relentless barrage of magical attacks that give you no option but to submit. His control comes from paranoia and precision, forged in a life of constant combat and a whole lot of PTSD. Masters don't need to prove power. They demonstrate restraint. They understand that a whisper can do what others achieve by shouting. Their duels go beyond dominance. It's all about efficiency. But they definitely still use magic to find their Eye Patronus Pro Max. Watching a master at work is unnerving. It's too smooth, too calm. The wand seems almost decorative, the spell already in motion before the gesture finishes. They make the impossible look mechanical, the dangerous look routine. This is the point where magic and mind fuse completely, where precision becomes instinct and instinct becomes art. Level 6, the Legends. This is the summit, the point where mastery transcends technique and magic itself seems to bend around the caster. These are the witches and wizards whose duels rewrite the rules, whose power alters the very air around them. At this level, the connection between wizard and wand becomes symbiotic. Every thought, every flicker of emotion channels through seamlessly. Spells no longer require incantations or intent checks, they simply happen. The line between thought and action dissolves, and so does mercy. Albus Dumbledore. When Dumbledore drew his wand, the world seemed to pause, as if even magic waited for his permission. Against Voldemort in the Ministry, he controlled the tempo with frightening calm, conjuring water, fire, and glass like an orchestra conductor. The Elder Wand was an extension of his intellect. Lord Voldemort, meanwhile, represents the same mastery twisted by obsession. His spells slice through air, his duels a display of lethal grace. What makes him terrifying isn't raw power or his nose. It's how little energy he needs to use to dominate. Every spell is minimal, perfect, and irreversible. To duel Voldemort is to fight inevitability. And then there's Gellert Grindelwald, charisma weaponized. His control is fluid and theatrical, his dueling less about brute force and more about manipulation. Grindelwald doesn't need to overpower opponents. His approach is more about dismantling them, both physically and philosophically. He treats combat as conversation, and he always gets the last word. These are not merely great witches and wizards. They are mythic benchmarks, the kind of figures that make entire generations measure themselves and fall short. Their understanding of magic cannot be studied or learned. At this stage, spells are language, and they are fluent enough to invent new dialects mid-duel. When two legends clash, the environment bends, the laws of magic flex, and spectators stop breathing. When the dust settles, one truth always remains. At this level, magic doesn't serve them, and it doesn't resist them either. It simply is them. For most witches and wizards, wand mastery is the finish line, the point where control feels complete. But for a few, it's only the beginning, because beyond mastery lies something rarer, not skill, but sensitivity. The 6 levels of magical sensitivity. Watch now.